Hey students, today we're going to be getting into the conversions between metric and customary. Customary is the systems that we use here in the United States. Metric is what they use in pretty much everywhere else but the United States. So in the top left corner I have a minimized version of the gift that you were all handed in class, and I'm going to use that to figure out how many centimeters are in 8.2 inches. So remember, the first thing and the most important step that you could do with all of these conversion problems is to set up your key with your skeleton. The key tells you what two units you're comparing. For this problem, since I have centimeters coming first in the problem, I put centimeters on top and inches on the bottom. Then I have to use the conversion for that first part of my proportion. I'm trying to figure out how many centimeters are in 1 inch, or it might give me how many inches are in a centimeter. So if you're looking closely, I will be using the very first conversion, where it says 1 inch is the same as 2.54 centimeters. Remember, when we're using that skeleton, we have to look at the key to figure out where the units are going to go. Since 1 inch is labeled with an inch, I decided to put inches on the bottom, so that's exactly where I'm going to put the number 1, which means on top will be 2.54. So that's the conversion just written upside down. 2.54 centimeters is the same as 1 inch, but you could also read that as 1 inch is the same as 2.54 centimeters. The second part of the proportion will always come from the problem. The only number written in my actual problem is 8.2. And again, I have to use the key to figure out where 8.2 is going to go. Since it's labeled as inches, the only available spot for it to go is on the bottom. To solve proportions, we're going to use the means of extremes, which is multiplying diagonally and dividing by the third number. So I'm going to be grabbing my calculator, and I'm going to type in 2.54 times 8.2. And that gets me 20.828, and that's the same thing as the other diagonal, 1 times x. Our shortcut, though, multiply diagonally, divide by the third number, comes right through here when you're doing the opposite operation on both sides. It's the same thing as dividing by the third number, so of course it's going to remain the same, which is 20.828 centimeters. However, we've been practicing in class that we're always going to round to the nearest hundredth. So let me apply my rounding rules. The 8 tells the 2 to go up, so my final answer will be 20.83 centimeters. I know it's going to be centimeters because the x, or the unknown, was located in the numerator of my original problem, right here, and I'm going to refer back to my key to know that it was centimeters. Let's try this again with a new problem. There's pretty much no question here, but I'm going to interpret the question as how many yards are in 16.1 meters? So again, what's the first thing that I have to do? I'm hoping you're thinking set up the key and the skeleton, because you are exactly right. My logic brain says put yards on top because it comes first in the problem. If you put meters on top, it's okay, as long as you're matching up your labels every single time. The first part of the proportion comes from that conversion, so I'm going to go back one slide to figure out the one math sentence that compares yards to meters. So can you find it? Yards to meters. Here it is, yards and meters. So we're going to have to memorize that. 1 yard is the same as 0.91. Remember, on your key, we always round it to the nearest hundredth. So 1 yard is the same as 0.91 meters. 1 yard. .9, let's just double check, 91 meters. So that just came from the gift or from that conversion chart, rounded to the nearest hundredth. We've got one number left, and that's 16.1 meters. Where do you think that number is going to go? We only have 2 places, and I'm hoping you're thinking the bottom because that is the only spot where we can put meters, which means what's going to go on the top? You're exactly right. Your x, your unknown. Remember how to solve this with cross products, which is also called means and extremes, and at the 6th grade level, we just call it multiply diagonally, divide by the third number. So the actual math that is taking place, you're multiplying those two numbers because they're on a diagonal, and you will eventually be dividing by your third number. So I'm going to grab my calculator. I already know that 16.1 times 1 is going to remain 16 and 1/10. So I'm going to save myself just a little bit of time and do 16 and 1/10 divided by 91/100ths. And I'm going to get a crazy answer on my calculator. So I'm only going to go out 3 places because I know in class we've been practicing to round to the nearest hundredth. So that 9 is going to stay the same because the 2 tells the 9 to do that. So our final answer will be 17.69 yards. If you're confused on why it's yards, I'll give you 2 reasons. One, in our very original problem, we had this x, the unknown, labeled with yards. So we're trying to calculate how many yards are in 16.1 meters. The other reason is that in your actual key with your skeleton, that unknown was in the numerator, which is also associated with yards. So it's very important to match up those labels. And I'm sorry for the bad handwriting if you can't read that. It's 17.69 yards, and that is your final conversion for how many yards are in 16.1 meters. Hope this helped. Have a great day.